Want to know the difference between the world and God? Listen to this. The world calls it freedom, but God calls it disobedience. The world calls it abortion, but God calls it murder. The world calls it dating, but God calls it fornicating. The world calls it fortune telling, but God calls it witchcraft. The world calls it attraction, but God calls it lust. The world calls it an affair, but God calls it adultery. The world calls it LGBT, but God calls it sin. The world calls it yoga, but God calls it demonic. The world calls it Marian prayers, but God calls it idolatry. The world calls it censorship, but God calls it persecution. The world says love is love, but God says He is love.